This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Fulis.
And our show is one of the few things in the world that is not canceled or postponed or anything.
And full disclosure, we're breaking the social distancing rule.
Yeah.
We're literally sitting right next to each other. So
so
if anything happens, it's on us.
It'll be our last episode for a while. Who knows?
Could be. It's certainly trying and uncertain times, I think, right now in the world.
It's surreal and odd, and I know we both have regular jobs. I know your job, you can't really work from home. My job is allowing me to work from home for the next couple of weeks, which is kind of surreal. But yeah, it's kind of unprecedented times. Certainly, I've never kind of really experienced anything like this.
No, I mean, we've had viruses and stuff before, like, the bird flu and Ebola and all that stuff. We've never had it impacted like this, so it's definitely charted waters for pretty much everybody. The whole world, has been impacted in one way or the other.
Yep.
And, in the industry I'm in, the incoming's down at my work, and they're talking about, reduced hours or layoffs possibly, but, there's no, like Tim said, there's no way for me to work from home. So it's, it's a lot of uneasiness in the world, but we'd like to at least try to keep you guys on a happier note for a half hour or so if we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're listening to this just to make fun of us. As long as we're making you guys laugh, that's and you listen, you enjoy it, and it takes your mind off what's going on. I can't say that I would feel bad if that's if all you got out of it was that. I can't say that I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we certainly thank everybody that followed us, liked us on Facebook and everything, and we certainly appreciate it. We encourage you to continue supporting the show, and tell your friends about it. Hopefully they'll support us with a like and a follow as well. So
yeah, we've been noticing some upticks on some of that stuff. So whoever is responsible for that, thank you. At the beginning, we both had the idea of, well, as long as we like doing it and we entertain ourselves, that's cool. So it's definitely come a long ways.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to what we're really here to talk about today. We are talking about WrestleMania 10. It is just about the 26th anniversary of this show. It took place in 1994.
It is, actually. We are recording on today's the 20th.
The 20th, yeah.
Episode will drop tomorrow. We are recording on the actual 26th anniversary date.
The actual 26th anniversary took place in Madison Square Garden. They kind of did Madison Square Garden every 10 WrestleManias.
Yes. And they might do it again this year.
Yep, they might do it again this year. WrestleMania 30 was the exception.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with what's going on in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty for this year's WrestleMania. So
yeah, this is kind of off topic, but the plan that I've seen most often is a 2-day event, empty arena at the Performance Center,
which in my opinion would suck.
Yeah, for WrestleMania, that's
and Tim and I discussed it a little bit earlier. The AEW show was fantastic. They actually had wrestlers in the stands as fans, so it felt like there was at least somebody there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, and they had a spot where MJF and Sammy Guevara actually sang Judas when Jericho came out. So it was neat. It was smart thinking because WWE never came up with that. No, they never once thought, why don't we put some of the wrestlers out there so at least it looks like there's somebody out there they're performing to besides the TV cameras. But yeah, definitely some uncertain times. And, WrestleMania is up in the air. They've been saying it's going to be at the Performance Center, but we've also heard rumors that it could be in June at Madison Square Garden. So, hold tight, I guess.
Hold tight. The Hall of Fame, the last I heard, is they're going to try to do that around SummerSlam weekend now. That's a big thing for me. That's one of my favorite nights of the year. It's the Hall of Fame ceremony. Yeah,
I love listening to T talk about his mama.
Hillbilly Jim, I think, is still giving his speech.
He's still going. But yeah, that's definitely, it's cool to see the nostalgia of them coming back. And again, I know we're a little off topic. We only have one show to talk about here, so we can kind of ramble about a few things here and there. We have time. But yeah, it should be interesting in the coming weeks to see exactly what happens, and I guess it all really hinges on how bad this whole thing is.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope everybody's staying safe.
The positive news is if we follow what China did, yesterday or the day before was the first day China had no new cases.
Yep, and
that was reported. That's not fake news. That's legitimate. So obviously it's getting better.
Yeah,
it might take a little while for us to come out of it, but it can be done.
Yep, stay safe, follow the rules of the health officials and everything.
Unless you're recording a podcast.
Yes, unless you're recording the podcast.
You can be within 6 feet, and it's fine.
This is the sacrifice we're giving to you people, okay?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about WrestleMania 10 here. The dark match, you had the Heavenly Bodies, which was Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard.
Dr. Tom Pritchard.
Yes. Bruce Pritchard's brother. They were managed by Jim Cornette. They got a win over the Bushwhackers, Butch and Luke. Tag team match here. Obviously, not much to talk about. We obviously weren't able to see the match, with being a dark match.
No, we don't even have a reported time on how long it took, so we just know they were there.
But Bushwhackers, one of the most popular tag teams in this era.
I mean, they were starting to get phased out.
Yeah,
it was more late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So at this point, 94, they're kind of, their gimmick's kind of up. But I mean, yeah, they were one of my favorites growing up.
And so we're going to start the card with, I don't know how you can get better, a better way of starting a card. You have the Hart brothers here. Owen Hart getting, in my opinion, a surprising win over Bret Hart. This match went a little over 20 minutes. They had a brother versus brother storyline going for the last couple weeks here.
I think you just said Bret Hart beat Bret Hart.
Did I say Bret Hart beat Bret?
I think you did.
Oh, man.
I'm not 100% sure, but anyways.
Well, Hart beat Bret Hart.
Yes. I could be wrong. I was reading too, so but I could swear that's what I heard. Anyways, but yeah, no, it was a great way to start the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And like you said, the brother versus brother feud that's actually been going on from the year before, the year prior. He turned on him, then they kind of got back together just to turn on him again. Owen. This is when Owen was the King of Hearts. After this, he wins the King of the Ring the following year, and that was when the King of Hearts thing started, and he was better than Bret and all that stuff. And I like it. It's funny in the different interviews in the back when Owen doesn't know what to say. He's like, "Oh, brother," it's like you're not Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because of the dynamic to see. Him saying, I told you I was going to beat you. And he's not going to say, he doesn't say Bret, he says brother.
Yeah.
I told you, brother, I was going to, it's like, you're not Hulk Hogan. I don't know what you're trying to do. But yeah, it was just, the match itself was fantastic.
It was an excellent technical match. Definitely go back, if you're a pure wrestling fan, go back and watch this match. It was excellent. Bret Hart actually going to pull double duty. They kind of were, throughout this match, kept saying how he's going to come back later and wrestle for the title. He's going to wrestle the winner of the Yokozuna Luger match, which we'll get into in a little bit.
That was because of the Royal Rumble results, right? How Luger and Bret both won the Royal Rumble before that. So that was how they paid off that storyline. And it's funny to note that Yokozuna's match didn't happen for 5 matches after this. Yeah. So I don't know why those 2 matches weren't 1 and 2.
I know.
To give Yokozuna some time to recover, but he had 2 matches in between, and then he came right back out.
I know.
And he's 400 pounds.
That's what I was going to just say. He's a big guy, so, I mean, that's got to be tough to kind of go, not back-to-back matches, but pretty close to it.
And I even said that. I was watching it. I watched it this evening before we started recording, and I even said that to my wife. I was like, I can't believe I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm like, wow, they only had a half hour between matches. Yeah. It's like, wow, that was... Not even really. I mean, about a half hour. Oh, no, 20 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, about 20 minutes.
Yeah, because that one match was So, it was interesting to look back at the booking of it. It's like you would have thought, and especially in this day and age with tournaments, they usually go, they have the same round at the beginning, then some matches in the middle, and the next round, it was just weird. Yeah. But, it was a great match. Great way to start. I don't know in that era, besides maybe Shawn, if you had 2 better technical wrestlers who also could fly around. Owen could fly around a little. He's kind of a hybrid. Sure. Bret was more of a mat technician, but great way to start.
You got to see a couple pile drivers in that match too.
Yeah, one of the one that Owen gave him, the tombstone one. Yep. That's how he should have done it for Stone Cold.
I was thinking of that because the story, if you don't know the story, Owen Hart kind of botched a tombstone on Stone Cold Steve Austin and damaged his neck, and there was a rumor that Austin went to him and asked him how does he do this tombstone, and Owen Hart said, "Well, I do it with my ass." Yeah. And Stone Cold thought he was joking and was going to take it on his knees.
Yeah, he's like, "You mean your knees?" Right? He's like, "No, I mean my ass." Yeah. Okay, I guess he knows.
So Owen Hart delivered it to Stone Cold on his ass, but here it was different. He delivered it on his knees. Yeah,
he did a tombstone, and the way that it was weird. The Undertaker wasn't on the show, so I guess he had to have a tombstone somewhere. But, but it was interesting. That was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, wow, if he'd done that for Stone Cold, who knows what could happen? Yeah. Neck-wise, career-wise.
Absolutely. All right, well, our next match is classified as a mixed tag team match.
It was mixed, all right.
Yes, it was. You had Bam Bam Bigelow, and as they announced her, his main squeeze, Luna Vachon, getting a win over Doink and Dink the Clown. This match, just over 6 minutes. This match is, we've been mentioning the term Gaga the last couple of podcasts here. That's what this was. It was for entertainment. It was not going to be a classic match by any stretch of the imagination. It was for entertainment purposes only, and I think it accomplished that. I was pretty entertained by this.
Yeah, it was funny to go back and watch it and see Luna square off with a midget.
Yes.
And I know, not politically correct and whatever. I mean, at the time, they were midget wrestlers. That's what they were. But yeah, so the mixed part of it was a midget and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to see how they did that. But yeah, it was a lot of Gaga, a lot of comic spots, mixed with a little bit of something too. I mean, Bam Bam Bigelow is probably one of the more underrated big guys in that era.
No, I agree.
He could do moonsaults. He was an athletic big guy. Yeah. Plus, he was scary as all hell looking too. Yeah. Just tattooed up head, and he played the character well. He was a good heel.
Our next match was a Falls Count Anywhere match with a weird stipulation, but you get Randy Savage here getting a win over Crush's Mr. Fuji. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match, but say you got pinned, you didn't lose the match if you could make it to the ring by the count of 6. You had 1 minute to get back to the ring.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the first fall took place in the ring, if the match would have been over.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Anyway, it was weird. So yeah, you had 3. There was 3 falls altogether.
Yep.
The Crush got the first one after he slammed him off the barricade.
Yeah, pretty quickly early on in the match.
Maybe a minute or 2 in.
Yeah.
And then I had to actually rewind it, so I was like, "What the heck just happened?"
Yeah.
The match's over. And they're like, "No, Randy Savage has 60 seconds to get in the ring," and I'm like, "For what? The match is over." But yeah, so the stipulation was if you got pinned outside the ring, you had 1 minute to get back in the ring, or you lost the match.
Yeah.
So they ended up brawling to the back, and Macho Man ties up, pins Crush, and then ties his feet up and hoists him up on this crane thing.
Yep.
And that's how the match ended.
How the match ended, yeah.
Mr. Fuji was all over this pay-per-view, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
He was out like every other match. Every other match. And in a couple of the matches, he took a shot from Randy Savage, took a shot from Luger. He got beat up in this pay-per-view. He got beat up a lot.
Yeah. Our next match, we had a women's title match for the WWF women's title. You had Alundra Blaze, or you might know her as Medusa, getting a win over Leilani Kai in just over 3 minutes here. I think this is kind of there for filler. Wasn't a whole lot to it. I mean, for a 3-minute match, I think they did pretty well. There was a lot of decent wrestling in it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I took away from it, and again, I watched this afternoon with my wife. She saw a lot of it too. And Jerry Lawler was really playing the heel role as the commentator.
Yeah.
He referred to Alundra Blaze as a horse at one point, saying that if she had 2 more legs or whatever, and it would say, my wife looked at me and went, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, it wouldn't age well."
It doesn't age well. It's the same thing with puppies, though. Puppies don't age well today either.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the puppy thing is kind of like an honest, playful. Like he's not, shooting down someone's looks. It was the way he did it. It was like, "Oh, dude, really? Wow!" Like he was referring to her if she had 2 more legs, that she looked like a horse.
Yeah.
It's like, what? She's not even a big woman.
He made a comment, and I can't think of who they were talking about, but it was somebody about how I could make them lose their appetite by just looking at Alundra Blaze.
Yeah, it was the very next match, I think. And I think it was...
Probably Men on the Mission, I would imagine.
It was. And they said, that Alundra Blaze's face could make him lose. Yeah, it's the same thing. And it's like, that age is horrible.
I know.
I can't get over some of the stuff that they let go back in the day that now you're like, wow, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a show, and I know it's fake, and it's for, you're supposed to, you're the heel commentator, you're supposed to get, oh, you said that. But that's horrible.
Yeah. Well, speaking of our next match, as we mentioned, it's Men on the Mission, Mabel and Mo, with Oscar getting a win over the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre.
With Raven as Johnny Polo.
Yes.
A young Raven.
Yep. They got a win by countout, so... They technically didn't win the tag team titles, but at the end they were kind of celebrating.
Yeah, they had, and at one point, so the match ended, and Johnny Polo went back to get the belt, and I don't know what was said to him, but Mo and Mabel had the belts in the ring. They were holding them up like they won them. So I don't know. I should have done a little more research after that to see if they ended up winning them. But I mean, here it clearly says it was by count out, so I don't know how the belts would have changed hands. The match itself, like you said, about 8 minutes. It was what it was. I mean. The funny thing about this is you still have Quebecer Pierre is still wrestling today. Mm-hmm. And he's, mid-50s?
Oh, he had to be.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was interesting to see that. But, and like I said, young Raven, Johnny Polo, as the manager of the Quebecers. And it was funny, at the beginning they made the Mounties reference.
Yep.
And they're not the Mounties, the Quebecers. It's like they look like Mounties.
Yeah.
And actually, the Mountie was one half of the Quebecers. So it was pretty much like they multiplied the Mountie gimmick to two guys.
And
I mean, Jacques Rougeau is still with the company.
He's a commentator now.
He's a French commentator. Yeah, so I mean, both those guys are still around, and we know that Nelson, who is Mabel, he's gone.
Yeah, a lot of quite a few.
Yeah, there's a few people on here, and this is like you said, 26 years old. There's a bunch of people that are gone on this.
I know Bam Bam, Luna, Owen, obviously.
The first Oink.
Randy Savage. I think Crush passed away.
Yes.
Mr.
Yoko.
Fuji passed away. Yokozuna. Yeah. I think Earthquake I believe has passed away.
Yeah, it's funny to think back, like I said, 26 years ago. I mean, I don't mean funny in a bad way. It's just amazing to look at this. There's a lot of talent here that's gone.
Yeah, a lot of Hall of Famers, but like you said, a lot of talent that's gone.
Yeah.
Well, our next match is for the World Heavyweight Championship. You had Yokozuna, who is the champion here. He's managed by Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji. He gets a win over Lex Luger by disqualification. Now, Mr. Perfect here is your special guest referee.
Can we talk about his outfit real quick? How
Yes.
It looked like a onesie
Yes.
or a sleeper.
Like a zebra onesie.
Yeah, he came out full referee shirt and pants.
Almost like a Danny Davis kind of looking.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's true. Maybe it was Danny Davis's stuff. It looked a little baggy on him in the bottom. So maybe kind of looked like he had MC Hammer pants on
I know.
at one point. And he still had these wrestling boots on under it, which is funny. But, I saw him come out through, and I'm like, wow, what a get-up.
So the finish here, you had kind of Lex Luger get into it with Mr. Perfect and kind of put his hands on him, and Mr. Perfect ends up disqualifying him, so that's your disqualification finish.
And that happened after Cornette got involved.
Yep.
Luger brought him over the top rope into the ring, and then Fuji came in, he knocked Fuji out. So then Luger he hit the flying forearm with the metal plate there, his gimmick, his clothesline with the metal plate in his forearm. And then that's when the two managers got involved. And so he goes over to pin Yokozuna, and Mr. Perfect goes over to Cornette and kind of like tries to get him out of the ring. Luger comes over and he's like, what are you doing? So then he comes over again and then tries to get Fuji out of the ring, and then Luger gets mad and starts like shoving him.
Yep.
And he just goes over and says ring the bell, but he doesn't say anything to the like timekeeper or
ring announcer.
And so like they knew, again, we know what's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
not like it's not. But it was just funny that there was no communication. You would have thought that they would have had him purposely say, he's disqualified, he touched me.
Mm-hmm.
But they cleared that up a little bit at the end with Todd Pettengill interviewing Mr. Perfect and Luger coming to the back and them getting into it to sum up kind of what happened. Because I think at that time, and especially the people in the crowd may not have known what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't really know. I mean, they know what they said over the loudspeaker, but at least that way they tied it together so everybody knew for sure what happened.
What the finish was. Yeah, so that's going to set up your main event a little bit later on with Yokozuna and Bret Hart.
And that main event goes back to last year's WrestleMania.
Yep.
Well, obviously not last year's, but WrestleMania 9 with the Hogan angle, with Bret Hart losing to Yokozuna and then Hogan coming out and saving the day and brother, I'm taking the belt. And rumor has it that Bret Hart was pissed about that because Hogan had left and then come back. So then they were going to go with Bret, and they decided to go with Yoko. They had that feud, and then Hogan just gets thrown right back in, and that's how they put the belt on him.
Yep.
And to this day, from what I've heard, there's still a rift there that Hogan claims he didn't ask for it or demand it, and Bret thinks he did. He just came back in and thought it was his title, and from as far as I know, whatever I've listened to is Bret's still not real happy with how that went.
Yeah.
And I can't say I blame him. I mean, Bret was there busting his ass. Hogan was off making TV and doing whatever he was doing, Mr. Nanny and all this stupid stuff he was doing.
Yep.
And he just comes back and here's your belt.
Right back in the main event picture.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like 1 year in the making because, like I said, last year, WrestleMania 9, Yoko faced Bret Hart.
Well, before we get to our main event, we have a couple more matches to talk about. Well, one, not really a match here. Kind of you had your squash match. You had Earthquake getting a quick win over Adam Bomb, who's managed by Harvey Whippleman here.
He gets into it with Howard Finkel.
Yep.
A little bit.
That was the thing. Howard Finkel sporting a full head of hair. They had earlier in the show, they had the president or the CEO of the Hair Club for Men and presenting Howard Finkel. And so Harvey Whippleman's making fun of Howard Finkel, calling him names. Howard Finkel pushes Harvey Whippleman.
And then that's when Adam Bomb gets involved.
Yep.
Earthquake gets involved. Yeah. But it was funny to talk about the hair club guy. So when Doink came out, they had just done the hair club thing.
Mm-hmm.
When Doink comes out, he's squirting him with the flour.
Yeah.
And Jerry the King Lawler goes, even water can't wash that away. It's like it's not gonna, but it was just a funny when you said that about the hair club guy.
Yeah.
It came up to my head. So.
And I want to mention this too, just real quick while I'm thinking of it. They had a fake Bill Clinton appear throughout the show as well. And he was sitting in a presidential suite with IRS, and the $1 Million Man was there, and everything too. So that was just kind of a quick.
I'll tell you what though, if indeed that was a fake, which I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, I'm just saying one way or the other, the guy was spot on.
He was.
Either way,
He was.
It could have been the real one. It could have been the fake one. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was or it wasn't. I'm going to say one way or the other, it looked and sounded just like Bill Clinton.
It did. I will give you that.
If you were not in the loop and you were just watching, you're like, oh, Bill Clinton's there. But it was IRS talking about his taxes and the $1 Million Man saying that everybody has a price and all this stuff.
Yep.
Money Inc. Look it up.
So our next match to talk about is probably the one match that people remember the most from this show. It was a ladder match for the Intercontinental title between Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels. Razor Ramon getting the win here.
The backstory on this was Shawn Michaels was the Intercontinental Champion. He gets suspended. He has a piss test come back for something that he shouldn't have had. And his thing was, I remember the quote that he gave to Vince. He's like, I'm a doughy 240. I'm not taking steroids. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, your piss test was bad, so you're going to have to go away for a little while. And Shawn's like, well, that's fine, but I'm not sending you the belt back. He's like, I'm keeping the belt. So that's how they had a second belt, and they had a tournament. Razor Ramon won it. And then when Shawn came back to TV, oh, look, I have an Intercontinental Championship too. So, I mean, it was gold for storyline purposes.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this definitely, if you think of WrestleMania 10, you think of this match.
You think of this match. And it was a great match. I mean, you had two good workers. How, it's destined to be a good match. And then you had the element of the ladder involved as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was all kinds of spots that you see now that are just commonplace that had never happened before.
Yeah, this was very revolutionary ahead of its time. I mean, this is way before Money in the Bank and all that stuff. I think this might have been one of the first, if not the first, one of the first ladder matches.
I believe it was the second, because I know Bret Hart had one previously with somebody, I can't remember who it was, on like a house show. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, technically, I think it was the first actual televised
one.
But yeah, I mean, it was very innovative, very new, and some of the quotes from back then was that Shawn Michaels went out and had a 20-minute match with a ladder.
Yeah.
And I know I said that last week, but that's what people think of when they think of wrestling, especially in the business. True. And it's no knock on Scott Hall. No. But, I mean...
that's the thing. Like, I always think of, when I look at this, I always think, oh, Shawn Michaels won that match. But he didn't. No, it was Razor.
The best part was watching this back is I was able to tell my wife when the finish was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the match so many times, I know how the finish went. He gets caught up in the ropes after he gets knocked off the ladder. I'm like, here's the finish, here's the finish, here's the finish. So, it was definitely neat, and I remember Shawn being interviewed at some point afterwards, down the road, and he said that was the only ladder they had.
Yeah.
At one point, they bent the ladder all to hell.
Yep.
And they're using this unstable ladder, and that's why Scott Hall, when he got the belts, Razor Ramon, when he got the belts, he kind of fell backwards off the ladder because he didn't want to be on the thing anymore because it was all wobbly.
Yeah.
And he even said that. He goes, I was worried I was going to break my neck. So when they do the photo afterwards, Shawn Michaels is telling Earl to tell Scott Hall to get back on the ladder to do his pose. So Earl goes and stands in front of it to help steady it. He's like pointing at the belts and stuff. But yeah, no, it was easily way ahead of its time.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was a great match.
Definitely.
You had 3/5 of the clique out there at one point because Diesel came out.
Diesel was there.
He got kicked out relatively early, which is funny because it's a ladder match when anything goes, so I don't know why Diesel couldn't have been out there, but I get it. They evened it out, and it was a fantastic match.
Absolutely. And then we get to our main event here. You have Bret Hart getting a win over Yokozuna, again with Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji. Just about 10.5 minutes, Bret Hart becomes your new world champion by this win.
And the finish came where they didn't want to make Yokozuna look weak.
Yep.
So they had him lose his balance
on the bonsai drop.
Yeah, he went for the bonsai drop and he lost his balance. Yep. Oh, and Piper was the.
That's true. Roddy Piper was the special guest referee.
Special guest referee. It was good to see Roddy come back. But yeah, no, it was a good way to have the title switch without making Yoko look weak. Even though he probably was out of gas at that point.
Yeah.
He had wrestled for 15 minutes before that.
And like you said, he's a big guy.
It was like 20 minutes before that.
Yeah.
So it was, for what it was a pretty good match. I mean, you're limited with what you can do for Yokozuna. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of power spots for him. Be a little bit of speed for Bret, but Bret had a bum knee, so they played it up well. And Bret gets the roll up win after he falls off the second rope going for the bonsai drop.
Yeah. So that's WrestleMania 10 overall. I think it was a pretty good show. I would probably give it maybe a 7.5 rating if I had to get.
I'd say it was a solid 7. There was a lot of weird stuff in there that was not explained, like the tag team titles, like what actually happened there. The Mr. Perfect finish, that was kind of odd, the way they didn't really go into detail, Perfect saying, hey, this is what happened. And then the stupid falls count anywhere.
Yeah, that stipulation.
That was one of the weirdest things. I didn't even remember that.
Yeah.
And it was. I remember the finish though. Like when I saw it, watched it, I'm like, oh, I remember that. He tied him up, but I didn't remember that he had to get back in the ring. It was weird.
Yeah, that was definitely.
I've
weird.
never heard of that ever.
Recommendation for the show for me: the Owen Hart Bret Hart match. Definitely one to check out, and the ladder match. Especially if you've never seen the ladder match before between Scott Hall and Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels, you have to watch that match. It's a legendary match that I think everybody has to watch in their lifetime.
No, yeah. If you have not seen it and you're a wrestling fan, what have you been waiting for?
Yeah.
Seriously, it is it's way ahead of its time, and I'm a Shawn Michaels mark. He was my favorite growing up. Still a sentimental favorite of mine now. Other than that awful haircut he had when he came back in Saudi Arabia. But anyways, it's hard to say that Shawn Michaels would have a match that isn't worth watching.
Yeah,
put it that
that's
way.
true.
And especially when you're going out there with one of your buddies, it makes the match a lot easier because you're going to both lay your stuff in. You're not afraid to, So when Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, and they faced Diesel or Shawn or any of them faced each other, they knew they were going to have a good match because they knew the other guy out there was a buddy of theirs, and they were going to have, tear the house down.
Absolutely. And like we said, this was a very innovative, ahead of its time match. So when you watch it, forget about all the stuff you see today that's an everyday occurrence now in wrestling. This is stuff that was never done before at this time.
This was 26 years ago.
26 years ago. So put yourself in that time frame.
The TLC match happened in, like, 98?
I think it was probably a little bit later than that, but...
It was after the... Yeah, so probably 2000.
2000, probably.
Somewhere. Anyway, so that happened at least 5 to 7, 8 years after this.
Yeah.
So this was where it all began, really. And, you see the ladder spots or jumping off the ladder using it as a weapon. There's one spot where Shawn actually threw the ladder across the ring and hit Scott Hall back on end. How do you fake that? It's like, you just get hit with, like, the end of the ladder. That had to hurt. It was a great match.
Definitely.
The finish was still a little wonky where he got hung up in the ropes and stuff, and he gets his boot out, and then he gets his hand stuck. And I mean, it was a good way to end it. It was just a little weird. I wish they could have came up with something a little bit better, but the match itself, A+.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely go ahead and watch that match. So that wraps up our discussion on WrestleMania 10. Coming to you next week, we're going to do a wrestler profile. We haven't done one of these in a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
So we're going to talk about Randy Orton. Randy Orton has had, I think, probably a career. I don't think it's, when you think of Randy Orton, he's had such a long career that in the business now that I don't even think most people realize just how long he's been around.
Yeah, I mean, this is more than likely going to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
I would think. And with WrestleMania season coming up, Randy's supposed to have a match with Edge at WrestleMania. We figured it was a perfect time the guy's been in the business for 20 years.
Yeah.
He's been counting his FCW, OVW days. He's been around for a while, and to think of, like Tim said, to look back on how long he's actually been in the business, Evolution, before that,
Rated RKO.
Yeah. And there's been so many incarnations of the guy that it's totally worth doing a couple episodes on, I think.
Absolutely. So that's coming to you next week.
The original plan was to do 2 episodes on him and then do WrestleMania.
Yes.
Do the preview show for WrestleMania. So, again, that's up in the air.
Yeah, we didn't know just as much as you guys know at this point what's going on with WrestleMania. It seems like they might be moving along with this 2-day thing. Gronk going to be hosting it.
Yeah, it seems there's a lot of conflicting reports right now, a lot of uncertainty. And also we do have some things we're working on
Yes.
I'll let Tim explain a little bit without going into too much detail.
Yeah, there's an independent wrestler that we got in contact with. His name is Jonathan Life. He's based out of Dallas, Texas. We've been in contact with him, so we're working on an interview, setting him up. We're just trying to work out our schedules when we can record this, so we're not sure exactly when that interview will take place, but things look pretty good. That we're going to get something set up in the near future here. So that's something we're really looking forward to. It's going to be a new experience for us doing an interview. But definitely something we're looking forward to sharing with you guys. So as soon as we know more details, we'll definitely share it with you right here.
Yeah, I mean, and it's up in the air enough where, we might pull an audible one week.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it permits the way that it goes, we'll see what happens. We're going to keep our schedule going the way we have it. And, we can always pull the old switcheroo, the old bait and switch if we have to.
Absolutely. So that's what's coming up down the line on the show. In the meantime, stay safe out there. Stay social distance yourself. Stay inside. But try to live your life too as much as possible. I mean, you can't totally be shut down by this. But again, take the advice of the health officials and stay safe.
Exactly. No better way to say it than stay safe.
Yeah, absolutely. But everybody have a good week, and we will talk to you guys again real soon. I'm Tim Kerr.
And I'm Roland Fulis.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.